Hi folks, my name is Fifi. I'm the owner of Serendipity, a multi-award winning cafe and tea room here in Fife in Scotland, and welcome to Make Food with Fifi. So tonight is our first evening meal that we're showing on the channel, and I hope it's something that you guys will enjoy. If you think it's something you're interested in, please hit that subscribe button, like the video, and of course leave your comments and questions below. Now tonight I'm going to be making a chicken and leek stroganoff. It's a very easy recipe and a very quick recipe for a real good sort of after work type dinner. This recipe is designed for 2 people, so if you want to multiply that, of course you just double or triple your quantities. So as I say, it's a very quick recipe, so we're going to actually put our rice on first because it's going to be ready in the time that it takes to boil the rice. So we're just going to salt some water into our pot and turn on our rice to boil. Now I use a mixture of brown and basmati, but you can use anything that you like. So as our rice is boiling, we're going to put on a heavy based pan to start to warm up. It's a 1 pan recipe, so everything is going to be made in here. So what we need for our chicken and leek stroganoff is 2 chicken breasts, 2 large leeks trimmed and washed, a knob of butter, about 25 grams, 7 mushrooms. You can buy pre-sliced mushrooms if you want, and you can add more or less mushrooms depending on how many you like. I picked these up from our local farmers market earlier, so I've just given them a wash and taken out the stalks in the middle. You need 1 lemon, olive oil, salt and pepper, and 200 ml of full fat cream. You can swap this to low fat cream if you want, but I feel you shouldn't. I think you should always use full fat items in a recipe where they belong. Just eat them in moderation. So we're just going to pop our knob of butter into our pan and let it start to melt. The first thing that goes into our pan is our leeks. So we're just going to roughly chop the leeks up. You want to leave them quite big, there's no exact science on this. Just cut them in and pop them into your pan. And just let them stir around in the butter. You can give them a little grind of salt and a grind of black pepper. You will be using a lot more black pepper later on to finish off the recipe. But just let that butter melt through the leeks. On a medium heat. You don't want them to burn, you don't want the butter to burn, you don't want the leeks to burn in the butter. You want them just to sort of simmer away and saute nicely in the butter. So while that's starting to cook, we're going to cut up our chicken breasts. Now a lot of recipes I'm going to show you is actually for leftover pre-cooked chicken. This is one of the few recipes where raw chicken actually works better. So cut up your chicken breasts just into strips. And we're going to add that into our pan once our leeks have started to soften. Now stroganoff was originally a Russian recipe, a beef recipe, and it was first published in 1871, and it was called a good housewife's recipe because, like a traditional Irish stew or stovies, it was what was the cheap cut of beef and what was left over, and it didn't have cream and it wasn't as sort of rich and luxurious as a stroganoff is today. It was more sort of like a beef and gravy and onions type recipe, and again it was like a cheap leftovers recipe that housewives were able to rustle together, and originated in Russia, and then a chicken version was formed from that, but this particular one is actually used more in France. So just keep giving those leeks a little swirl around in the butter to soften. Now before you add the chicken, just give a little drizzle of olive oil, just less than a tablespoon is fine, and then add the chicken into the pan and let that start to stir around. You don't want the chicken to overly brown here. You just want it to cook nice and gently with the leeks at the same time, so they both transfer the flavour from one to the other. Now at this stage we're going to add a little bit of water. Just add about 150 ml for now. You can add a little bit more as you go along, but it just stops the chicken from sticking, and it actually starts to let it bubble and soak up the juice of the water. And we're going to just loosely cover that pan with a little bit of foil and just let it work away for about 5 minutes. Thinly sliced, as I say, you can buy pre-sliced mushrooms, but these are from the farmer's market just down the road. We've got a lovely farm shop just down the road from us, so we walk down and pick up some bits and pieces there. You can certainly just grab some sliced ones from the supermarket. I can smell those leeks in that chicken starting to bubble away. Just uncover it, and you can see the chicken is starting to cook and the leeks are really starting to soften. The leeks will really start to reduce in size as they start to cook and lose moisture. So you want to keep a little bit of water in your pan at all times, just to let the water soak into the chicken and just gives a little bit of a sauce and a flavour. This whole thing should only take about 15 to 20 minutes, so it's perfect for coming straight in from work and just wanting something quick. As you can see, they're really starting to soften up. I'm really getting the smell of the leeks coming out. Now if you just break open one of your pieces of chicken, just to make sure it's starting to cook through. So once you see the chicken is cooked all the way through, we're going to add in our mushrooms. And again, cover loosely with your foil and give it about 5 minutes. Now just about 5 minutes before your rice is fully cooked, you're going to take off your foil and you're going to add your double cream. And this really is what makes a stroganoff, this heavy cream. Turn your heat down slightly. You don't want the cream to boil and boil away. You want it just to cook through enough to soak up the flavours of the chicken, the leeks and the mushrooms, but create a nice thick sauce. A stroganoff should be quite a thick sauce, not too runny. Beef stroganoffs can be very runny sometimes, but I find with the chicken one you want it to be a little bit thicker. Again, add some more black pepper here. You cannot add enough black pepper in this recipe, so feel free to add as much as you like. We like a lot on ours, so I do get quite liberal with the black pepper. Now stir that in and cover for your last 5 minutes. Just give it a little stir each minute. Just make sure it's cooking all the way through. That should be our rice now cooked through. So we're just going to drain our rice and then transfer it back into the pot to keep warm. And you can just set that to one side for now. And this is coming along perfectly. Once it starts to get thick and you can push the cream and you can see the bottom of the pan, it means that it's ready. So without further ado, we're going to serve this up. So we've got one last thing to do. We'll take a fresh lemon. You can use lemon juice if that's what you have. If you have a fresh lemon, then even better. Cut the lemon in half and you're going to give a squeeze into the stroganoff. One good heavy squeeze should be enough. The tartness of the lemon, it just counteracts with the cream and stops the cream being sweet and just gives it a nice finished savoury taste. So we like to serve it up in big bowls. So I'm just going to divide out our rice. And we're going to serve up our stroganoff. Just spoon it in on top of your rice, making sure you get plenty of the mixture. Good balance of chicken, mushrooms and leeks. Get all those flavours in there. Absolutely delicious. Well, there you have it, a very quick and easy after work dinner. Absolutely delicious, perfect for any evening. So it's your turn to make it, cook it and eat it. I've been Fifi, and if you've enjoyed everything you've seen on the channel tonight, please don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button and leave your comments below. If you've got any questions at all on this recipe or anything else on the channel, please feel free to ask. And other than that, I'm gonna have my dinner because this looks that's so good.